That's annoying. That is really annoying. Like, very, very, very annoying. I wish there was a way to know this was working. This is kinda sucky. This is kinda sucky. Huh. It's actually working now. Great. But well, I guess this is a stream now. Hello there, Destrovio here, and welcome to From the Depths, a game which is not really all that good to actually put on YouTube, because we kind of just do things and don't really do much about it. Yeah. This is, some shitty little biplane I made apparently a while ago. It's surprisingly not awful. Does need the ability to pitch down more though. Especially at high altitude. So, yeah. This is From the Depths. I do some stuff in it. And I guess anyone who wants to watch will watch. Actually, we'll take a look at that. It is kind of interesting. I, made a thing from a game a while ago, and, this is what it is. It's pretty basic, it doesn't... But even then, despite it being relatively simple, it actually looks half-decently like the thing it was based on, and not only that, but it functions well. Now compare this version, this chonky boy, as I'm going to call him, with the final product. At least so far. The Mark III. Actually, yeah, I'm making an upgrade to this as we speak, because, well, of what it's based on. Metal beam 3... No, that needs to be an alloy beam, because I made this thing out of alloy. There we go. Why is it... Why the hell was that in, Yeah. Explodes pretty well, though.
Listening. 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 Moving out.
So yeah, this is just a fairly basic little fighter that I've been working on and off, and it works pretty well, I would say. It's decently maneuverable, it has chaff and flares, it has 6 medium missiles with decent ability to track and actually engage fast-moving targets. Mix of HE and EMP for somewhat of effectiveness against all targets, especially aerial targets with limited EMP space protection. In short, anything of comparable size, I would wager this thing can take care of. Also, the random gun on the back is simply because of what this is based on, as if the bright yellow and white colour scheme and the very distinctive shape of this aircraft notwithstanding, this, not actually being able to let people identify it, this is an aircraft from a game. That's right, I did not come up with this design myself. This is a design from a game by the name of Battalion Wars. And for a pretty long time now I've been working on designs from that game. Slowly building up a repertoire of Anglo Isles vehicles of varying quality. This one, pretty damn good. Some of them, less so. Keeping in mind that I am also basically taking the design as it is in-game and making it work within this game. It's not perfect recreations most of the time. But, there are a couple things I can do with decorations and such now that I know how to use them to make things look better. I want to get the cylinder. No, I want the tube. And I want to have it a forward scaling of 1, up and down scaling of maybe 1, 2 at absolute most. No, 0.5 is good. Give it some pitch of about 45. And move it backwards. And down. Maybe a little bit wider. Yeah. Yeah, that should be good. It's, again, not perfect, but you know what? This thing is good enough for what I need it to do. And, quite frankly, I don't have any other aircraft that can do this. Oh look, the ground. Oh look, there's not the ground. Basically, this is just a fun air superiority fighter that I enjoy using en masse against some of the stronger vehicles in this game. Wait. Oh yeah, it's gone through 62 iterations by now. It's been perfected. Let's put it that way. Okay. Let's quickly test it against, you know, something comparable. The XF-30 Gannet. Probably one of the better Steel Striders fighters that are available. Okay, yeah, good. The ACBs are still working as intended. Yeah, no, it's just turning out of the way of all missiles, avoiding pretty much all incoming fire, and destroyed the enemy target. After a couple of goes. Destroyed its engines by the looks of it with C. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much exactly how this goes. I could maybe put on a little bit of extra HE, but honestly I prefer the extra fuel to actually catch up with the target. In short, these missiles, this design right here, has become my fairly standard aerial intercept missile. Minimum of 2 fins is required. The extra actual fuel boosters to help them turn quicker and reacquire the target if they manage to overshoot it. EMP usually manages to take care of any protection around the AI core within a couple salvos. And this thing, and the actual platform it's mounted on, is now nimble enough, and also now has the defenses against most targets, that it will be fine. The problem comes with protecting this thing against lasers. But since there are no lasers in the Battalion Wars series, I'm quite happy to say that this thing is about as accurate as I can make it. Short of using even more mimics and such, which I don't really want to do. So, let's have a look at some of my other designs, shall we? Let's go with the Bomber. This thing is slow. Like, seriously slow. As in, any AA gun you have will target it and destroy it slow. It's kinda bad. But, in terms of appearance, it's reasonably accurate. Not only that, it is, assuming it gets over the target, pretty damn effective. Let's go for one of the structures. Let's go for the Seabird Cannon Fortress, eh? Yep, it's shooting my bomber. Oh yeah, it got hit by the fighter because fighter is OP, please nerf. Pull forces out of play. Let's make another one. So, when it gets over a target, within a certain range, it opens up those bomb bay doors. And it then drops an 8 of large bombs. The bombs themselves are relatively small, only a single HE for each of them, but that doesn't mean they're not effective. However, the bomber itself is kind of expensive, kind of slow, and easy to destroy. In other words, it needs a fighter escort, or it's gonna go boom. Which is actually kind of fair, considering that's basically what's needed in the game. Any AA unit is able to take care of the bomber just fine, because it has limited countermeasures. If I wanted to make it better, I would give it flares and chaff like I have given to the fighter, to at least make it slightly less damage, take slightly less damage against overwhelming missile spam. which is something I might do because, well, this thing needs it. It also, like the fighter is made out of a lightweight metal alloy, which doesn't help its survivability all that much. But, you know what, let's fix up a set of, at the very least, chaff. So defenses, chaff. Where to put it though? This is like... That works. How about on the engines? Nope. How about underneath the engines? Yep, that works. Two there. Two above. I probably could fit this thing with flares too, like, maybe not necessarily the most effective flares, but I could fit them. Okay, now that we've fitted this thing with flares, we need it to be able to actually use them. So, that means we go to control. Yes, this hasn't unintentionally become a way of how do you fit a means of protecting your aircraft from various means onto your thing. So, we go to this. We go to missiles and torpedoes. We want this to trigger if the torpedoes get within 100 meters. Which is fairly short range, but it should do the job. We then want it to affect all weapons and defenses, ECM signal jammers, no, chaff emitters. When a missile is in range, set the chaff emitters to 100%. There is no reason to not be using 100% if you're about to be hit by missiles. However, if there is no missiles within 100 meters, we want it to not be used at all. So we go ahead, we go to the chaff emitters, set consumption to 0. That should help, but it's not a perfect solution. Yeah, 5 should be fine. Identify friend or foe. Staggered missile. Let's go for point 2. Point 2. That might not work actually. Put them up here. Alright, now we have our ridiculous missile swarm. Let us place a bunch of missiles. These missiles are going to have nothing but sticky flares, because quite frankly that's all they need to have. And the radar target simulators are not that useful. Then again, you know what, actually? Let's make one side do radar target simulators and the other one do sticky flares. Since it's going to be firing both of them at the same time, it should have about the same effect. One sticky flare for good measure, because it looks pretty. Not controlled by AI, that is fine. Control, ACB. We want, unsurprisingly, these missiles to fire whenever there is a missile within 100 meters. So, missiles on torpedoes within 100 meters. Target in action. Fire weapons. Where is the weapons? I am fucking blind today. Weapon systems. Fire the weapons. We want it to fire a mere 2. So we set it down the range until it targets the ones that we want it to, and we are good. And because I want to make it pretty, we want an ally beam scaled but to the left by 2, moved to the left by 0.5, and that's all nice and covered up. Also amusingly, because of how I decided to design this thing, I decided to make these machine guns on the back do double duty as anti-missile cannons. They are relatively ineffective, but they should help, actually. This is now the Mark IV. And now you see why I have so many iterations of things, in some cases. Particularly aircraft. Okay, so let's go back to the Steel Striders and go for their planes. This thing might be able to deal with a spiral. That's a thought. I want them to be launched downwards. So, how about a small rail launcher? Sticky flare. Sticky flare. Sticky flare. Sticky flare. Sticky flare. Sticky flare. We want these things to drop like bombs. So how do we set that? It would appear we've been stuck by our own sticky flares. This is not ideal. You know what? Oh, that's because those are gantries. I need the launcher. Now, this will be technically less flares. Technically. Let's synchronize these things up, shall we? We want it to synchronize to Missile Controller 5. With a delay of, let's say... .1. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes, I am going off of that logic. And now for some decorations. And now we'll do the same with this one. Alloy beam. $90, 3.5, left-right scaling of 2, up-down position. You get on in there. I do want to make this thing faster, though. Like, seriously, this is slow. I could do that, actually. I don't know if I want to do it, though. I mean, I could just strip out this entire area and fill it up with a jet engine, or 2, or 4. Let's try it. Hey. Since we can get power from jet engines now, I don't see a reason not to try it. So, actually, there, that could work pretty well. I did it the wrong way around. We want this one to be high so it goes over the top of that mimic. Controller, controller, generator, generator, compressor. No, not compressor. We want the connector here, and we want the corner exhaust thing there, and then more combustors there. And then some injectors. Hey, that actually works pretty well. That's actually a pretty significant speed improvement. More than I thought, and that's not even with proper intakes. Cust Decorations, mimic. We want it to be dark. And we want it to be the... up and down scaling of 2. Up and down position of 0.5. And we are now gaining positive power. Nearly 100 meters per second actually makes this thing maybe sort of viable. Left to right scaling of 2, left to right position of 0.5. 2. 0.5. 2. 0.5. And... there we go. Looks exactly the same, only an extra couple meters per second faster. That might actually make it viable. I might be able to get away with one more. And as an extra bonus, we can put in a little bit more injection of fuel. Because who needs fuel efficiency? Also, fun facts, for some reason they recently changed how jet engines work. Compressors basically allow you to have a jet engine that uses no fuel, and combustors are all that you need to make a functional engine. You don't need both of them anymore. As an aviation nerd, I guess, this annoys me. As someone who sees space efficiency in air vehicles as important, I don't care. And it makes kind of sense in that this is a low bypass engine. You don't really compress the air, you just force it into a frickin' combustion chamber and just burn it. Speaking of, more decorations, because why not? We need the air intake ducts? No. Hmm. Hmm. 100 meters per second on this thing? Yeah, I'll take that. Let's see if it can take care of an actual proper fighter. Or at least hold its own. Okay, yeah, it's not supposed to be able to take care of fighters, but at the very least, it's able to slightly better defend itself. Which was the goal, after all. Though, yeah, it's gonna need more missile detectors. I lost the two that were on the side of the fuselage, of the engine pods. No, I'm happy with that. Again, it's a bomber. It's not supposed to be able to take on fighters. Its primary weapon is for taking on, you know, actual ground defenses. And yet, it can, at the very least, not be completely annihilated by a fairly competent fighter. The XF-30 Gannet is what I'm using as my baseline for, okay, can my fighters that are of similar size beat this? If yes, good. If not, then we have a problem. Okay, maybe a little bit less. 70, so they actually get some velocity and don't get caught on the aircraft on the way out. Also, I have no idea if anyone is even watching this. I'm just streaming because, well, I can, I guess. Yeah, that looks good. I'm happy with the design as it is now. It is actually competent. It is at least partially defended against missiles, and yeah, that was the main goal. So that then leaves all of my other designs. As you may notice, there are in fact 4 different subsections of this particular thing. Because yes, I did design a lot of them, including things that were never actually in the game. So remember how I said things were designed for function over form? This is one of them. This is as close as I can get to being based off of the concept art of the Anglo Isles Strato Destroyer. Basically a big, fat, Lancaster bomber-esque vehicle. What makes this thing special is if we get a nice couple of instructions. A Liberator cannon, a coal factory, and a dockyard, let's say. Oh good, there's lasers. Hey, the dockyard looks pretty nice. Observe what happens when we get over our target. Doors open in a slightly uneven fashion, which I like. And then there is just a nice fan of explosives dropped over a target. They are unfortunately radar guided, so
Engaging now.
they will go for the biggest target, which is fine. It's a Strato Destroyer. You want it to be destroying big stuff. This honestly could use with some chaff and flares as well, but it's pretty good as is.
Engaging now.
Also, I might take some inspiration from this dockyard when I actually get around to making some of my own stuff. I like this gun! It's big, it's nasty looking. Pretty sure it's an APS cannon, because of railgun nonsense inside of it. I did also make a version with the basically max size missiles, but quite frankly, I find it looks better to have 20 missiles dropping on 20 bombs dropping on your head rather than just 6. Also, arguably, the Strato Destroyer is more effective against naval targets because the bombs often fall underneath the waves, and when they're underneath the waves, the HE gets a buff to damage. It's pretty neat like that. Even still, each bomb from this Strato Destroyer has double the payload of the bomber, of the standard Anglo Isles bomber. However, there is something else I made. This ridiculous little thing is a part of what I'm considering the Cobalt project of the Anglo Isles. In short, this is where I put all the shit that I don't think would fit into normal Anglo Isles tech. For example, a ridiculous burst gun. Do I care that it's not effective because it's only a 30 mil? No, it's a 60 mil. No, I do not care. Do I care that it is slightly faster than my fighter? No, not really, because it's funny. Do I care that it has 4 bombs of equivalent size to the Strato Destroyer? And do I care that I used a cheating method in order to basically make the gun the entire size of the aircraft, so that if the aircraft gets hit, it will basically explode into a glorious fashion? No, I don't care about that either. In short, this is basically just a fun little project I made that, you know what, probably doesn't fit the Anglo Isles, but I don't care, because it looks nice, and works well. If I was going to ever make a campaign, this would not be in it. This is just one of those designs where it's like, yeah, this is pretty effective. And I couldn't be bothered changing the colour scheme. Let's just get rid of that. The original design was stated to have a much larger gun, but it had trouble tracking targets based on how it's fixed into the hull. As such, I had to downgrade it to a smaller gun, hence why there's CAS and CAS smaller gun in there. Fighter, bomber, gunship is a piece of shit. The interceptor, let's look at that. Yeah, this is probably the fastest light aircraft I've ever designed. It is all engine. No joke. The engine goes all the way from the front, all the way to the back. This thing is basically impossible to control without the addition of jet engines to it. It is pretty maneuverable considering how fast it is. It has missiles, it has some flares, and that's about it. It can probably outrun most things that shoot at it. And it can probably catch up to this thing. I just realized that the bomber is now faster than the Strato Destroyer. That's good. The Strato Destroyer is big and beefy. It should not have ever been faster than the bomber. But no, because of nonsense, the Strato Destroyer was in fact for a while. Oh wait, no, never mind. I turned on full throttle. Yep, nope. The Strato Destroyer is still freaking faster than the bomber. It's ridiculous. Interceptor is again in one of those designs where it's like, I based this off of a actual British aircraft, the English Electric Lightning, but with some delta wings instead of swept wings. It's one of those aircraft that are again part of the Cobalt project, something I would not probably put into a campaign if I ever got around to making one. Yeah, no, that's pretty much all the aircraft. Ignore that. That's kind of shitty. I don't like it. We'll go to... yeah. Let's take a look at the heavy tank, which I think I like the most. I have since figured out how to make round turrets, so I might do that now, but honestly this works pretty well as is. It looks more or less like what it should, and it has a couple of extra guns. It's kind of more vulnerable than I'd like, particularly against missiles, but honestly it's not awful, so, you know, there's that.
Yes?
Pull forces out of plate. Then there is the artillery, which I think I'm the most happy with. Partly due to how it functions, partly because of, it was actually pretty painful to get working properly. But it's not, again, perfectly accurate to what was in the game, because this in particular was designed before I figured out exactly how to use mimics. So it works pretty well. Let's just get the command center. spawned in over there. Drifts to a stop and starts lobbing projectiles. So this is fine. Basically, once this thing has a target within 15 degrees of the nose, it will lock itself into place and continue firing until there is a target that is too close to it, and or there is a target that is its target is outside of its firing arc. Then it will attempt to shift. I like this design. That's nice. Better than the previous design for it. Now, unfortunately, on its own it is relatively ineffective, so considering its price point and its specialized nature, you can afford to just have 4 of them. Just point at your target. They unfortunately have a slower fire rate than the artillery from the Battalion Wars 2 game, but I've accepted that on the basis that these shells are vastly more effective. I'm gonna have to end this stream at some point soon too. Not that anyone is probably watching it anyway. Yeah, no. Well, at least it works properly now. I hope. I'm gonna have to end this stream at some point soon too.